Had we but whirled enough in time, this coyness lady were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges side just rubies find. I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love would grow vaster than empires and more slow. 100 years to go to praise thine eyes and on thy forehead gaze. 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest. An age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. For lady, you deserve this state, nor would I love at a lower rate. But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Worms shall try that long-preserved virginity, and your quaint honor turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The grave's a fine and private place, but none I think do there embrace. Now therefore, while thy youthful hue sits on thy skin like morning dew, and thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us sport us while we may, and now, like amorous birds of prey, rather at once our time devour, than languish in his slow-chapped power. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up in one ball, and tear our pleasures with rough strife through the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our sun stand still, we will make him run.
If on your grandmother's birthday you burn a candle to honor her memory, you might think of burning an extra to honor the memory of someone who never met her, a man who may have come to the town she lived in looking for work and never found it. Picture him taking a stroll one morning after a month of grief with the want ads to refresh himself in the park before moving on. Suppose he notices on the gravel path the shards of a green glass bottle that your grandmother, then still a girl, will be destined to step on when she wanders barefoot away from her school picnic. If he doesn't stoop down and scoop the mess up with the want ad section and carry it to a trash can. For you to burn a candle for him, you needn't suppose the cut would be a deep one. Just deep enough to keep her at home the night of the hayride when she meets Helen, who is soon to become her dearest friend, whose brother George, 30 years later, helps your grandfather with a loan so his shoe store doesn't go under in the Great Depression, and his son, your father, is able to stay in school where his love of learning is fanned into flames, a love he labors later to kindle in you. How grateful you are for your father's efforts is shown by the candles you burned for him. But today, for a change, why not a candle for the man whose name is unknown to you? Take a moment to wonder whether he died at home with friends and family, or alone, on the road, on the lookout for no one to sit at his bedside and hold his hand. The very hand it's time for you to imagine holding.
I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep.
My mother died one summer, the wettest in the records of the state. Crops rotted in the west. Check tablecloths dissolved in back gardens. Empty deck chairs collected rain. As I took my way to her, through traffic, through lilacs dripping blackly, behind houses and on curbsides, to pay her the last tribute of a daughter, I thought of something I remembered once, that the body is, or is said to be, almost all water. And as I turned southward, that ours is a city of it, one in which every single day the elements begin a journey towards each other that will never, given our weather, fail. The ocean visible in the edges cut by it, cloud color reaching into air. The Liffey storing one and summoning the other, salt greeting the lack of it at the north wall, and as if that wasn't enough, all of it ending up almost every evening inside our speech. Coast, canal, ocean, river, stream, and now mother. And I drove on, and although the mind is unreliable in grief, at the next cloudburst it almost seemed they could be shades of each other, the way the body is of every one of them. And now they were on the move again, fog into mist, mist into sea spray, and both into the oily glaze that lay on the railings of the house she was dying in. As I went inside,
I just didn't get it. Even with the teacher holding an orange, the earth, in one hand, and a lemon, the moon, in the other. Her favorite student, the sun, standing behind her with a flashlight. I just couldn't grasp it. This whole citrus universe, these bumpy planets revolving so slowly that no one could even see themselves moving. I used to think that if I could only concentrate hard enough, I could be the one person to feel what no one else could. Sense a small tug from the ground, a sky shift, the earth changing gears. Even though I was only a mini speck on a speck. Even though I was merely a pinprick on one goosebump on the orange. I was sure then that I was the most specially perceptive, perceptively sensitive. I was sure then that my mother was the only mother to snap. The world doesn't revolve around you. The earth is fragile and mostly water, just the way the orange was was mostly water if you peeled it. Just the way I was mostly water if you peeled me. Looking back on that third grade science demonstration, I can understand why some people gave up on fame or religion or cures, especially those who have an understanding of the excruciating crawl of the world, who have a well-developed sense of spatial reasoning and the tininess it is to be one of us. But not me. Even now, I wouldn't mind being God. The force who spins the planets the way I spin a globe, a basketball, a yo-yo. Even now, I wouldn't mind being that teacher who chooses the fruit, or that favorite kid who gives the moon its glow.
She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek, and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days and goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent.
I called a man today. After he said hello and I said hello, came a pause during which it would have been confusing to say hello again, so I said, "How are you doing?" And guess what? He said fine and wondered aloud how I was, and it turns out I'm okay. He was on the couch watching cars painted with ads for Budweiser, follow cars painted with ads for Tide, around an oval that's a metaphor for life because most of us run out of gas and settle for getting drunk in the stands, shouting at someone in a t-shirt, "We want kraut on our dog!" I said he could have his job back, and during the pause that followed, his whiskers scrubbed the mouthpiece clean and his breath passed in and out in the tidal fashion popular with mammals, until he broke through with the words, "How soon, thank you, oh my God," which crossed his lips and drove through the wires on the backs of ions as one long word, as one hard prayer of relief meant to be heard by the sky. When he began to cry, I tried with the shape of my silence to say I understood, but each confession of fear and poverty was more awkward than what you learn in the shower. After he hung up, I went outside and sat with one hand in the bower of the other and thought, if I turn my head to the left, it changes the song of the oriole. And if I give a job to one stomach, other forks are naked. And if tonight a steak sizzles in his kitchen, do the 7 other people staring at their phones hear? Thank you.
The time I've lost in wooing, in watching and pursuing, the light that lies in women's eyes has been my heart's undoing. Though wisdom oft has sought me, I scorned the lore she brought me. My only books were woman's looks, and folly's all they've taught me. Her smile when beauty granted, I hung with gaze enchanted, like him the sprite, who maids by night oft meet in glen that's haunted. Like him, too, beauty won me, But while her eyes were on me, if once their ray was turned away, oh, winds could not outrun me. And are those follies going? And is my proud heart growing? Too cold or wise for brilliant eyes again to set it glowing? No vain, alas, the endeavor, from bonds so sweet to sever. Poor wisdom's chance, against a glance, is now as weak as ever.
There's a place I know where the birds swing low and wayward vines go roaming, where the lilacs nod and a marble god is pale and scented gloaming. And at sunset there comes a lady fair whose eyes are deep with yearning. By an old, old gate does the lady wait, her own true love's returning. But the days go by and the lilacs die in trembling birdseat cover, yet the lady stands with her long white hands held out to greet her lover. And it's there she'll stay till the shadowy day a monument they grave her. She will always wait by the same old gate, the gate her true love gave her.
Come to me in the silence of the night. Come in the speaking silence of a dream. Come with soft, rounded cheeks and eyes as bright as sunlight on a stream. Come back in tears, oh memory, hope, love of finished years. Oh, dream, how sweet, too sweet, too bittersweet, whose wakening should have been in paradise, where thirsting, longing eyes watch the slow door, that opening, letting in, lets out no more. Yet come to me in dreams that I may live my very life again, though cold in death. Come back to me in dreams that I may give pulse for pulse, breath for breath. Speak low, lean low, as long ago, my love. How long ago? Thank you.
It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, that a wind blew out of the clouds, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her highborn kingsmen came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in her sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that a wind blew out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night's hide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride. In her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
If ever two were one, then surely we. If ever man were loved by wife, then thee. If ever wife was happy in a man, compare with me, ye women, if you can. I prize thy love more than whole mines of gold, or all the riches that the east doth hold. My love is such that rivers cannot quench, nor aught but love from thee give recompense. Thy love is such I can no way repay. The heavens reward thee manifold, I pray. Then, while we live, in love let's so persever, that when we live no more, we may live ever.
We stand in the rain in a long line, waiting at Ford Highland Park for work. You know what work is. If you're old enough to read this, you know what work is, although you may not do it. Forget you. This is about waiting. Shifting from one foot to another. Feeling the light rain falling like mist into your hair, blurring your vision until you think you see your own brother ahead of you. Maybe 10 places. You rub your glasses with your fingers and, of course, it's someone else's brother. Narrower across the shoulders than yours, but with the same sad slouch. The grin that does not hide the stubbornness. The sad refusal to give in to rain, to the hours of wasted waiting, to the knowledge that somewhere ahead, a man is waiting who will say, no, we're not hiring today for any reason he wants. You love your brother. Now suddenly, you can hardly stand the love flooding you for your brother who's not beside you or behind or ahead. Because he's home, trying to sleep off a miserable night shift at Cadillac so he can get up before noon to study his German. Works 8 hours a night so he can sing Wagner, the opera you hate most, the worst music ever invented. How long has it been since you told him you loved him? Held his wide shoulders, opened your eyes wide, and said those words. And maybe kissed his cheek. You've never done something so simple, so obvious. Not because you're too young or too dumb. Not because you're jealous or even mean or
incapable of crying in the presence of another man. No. Just because you don't know what work is.
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? Thank you.
I just didn't get it. Even with the teacher holding an orange, the earth, in one hand, and a lemon, the moon, in the other. Her favorite student, the sun, standing behind her with a flashlight. I just couldn't grasp it. This whole citrus universe, these bumpy planets revolving so slowly, no one could even see themselves moving. I used to think if I could only concentrate hard enough, I could be the one person to feel what no one else could. Sense a small tug from the ground, a sky shift, the earth changing gears. Even though I was only one mini speck of a speck, even though I was merely a pinprick and one goosebump on the orange, I was sure then I was the most specially perceptive, perceptively sensitive. I was sure then my mother was the only mother to snap, "The world doesn't revolve around you." The earth was fragile and mostly water, just the way the orange was mostly water if you peeled it, just the way I was mostly water if you peeled me. Looking back on that third grade science demonstration, I can understand why some people gave up on fame or religion or cures, especially people who have an understanding of the excruciating crawl of the world, who have a well-developed sense of spatial reasoning and the tininess that it is to be one of us. But not me. Even now, I wouldn't mind being God, the force who spins the planets the way I spin a globe, a basketball, a yo-yo. I wouldn't mind being that teacher who chooses the fruit, or that favorite kid who gives the moon its glow.
We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks. It shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With mouth, with torn and bleeding hearts, we smile. And mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh, great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing But oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet, and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
We smile at each other, and I lean back against the wicker couch. How does it feel to be dead, I say. You touch my knees with your blue fingers, and when you open your mouth, a ball of yellow light falls to the floor and burns a hole through it. Don't tell me, I say. I don't want to hear. Did you ever, you start, wear a certain kind of silk dress, and just by accident, so inconsequential, you barely notice it, your fingers graze that dress, and you hear the sound of a knife cutting paper? You see it too, and you realize how that image is simply the extension of another image, that your own life is a chain of words that one day will snap. Words, you say, young girls in a circle, holding hands and beginning to rise heavenward in their confirmation dresses like white helium balloons, the wreaths of flowers on their heads spinning. And above all that, that's where I'm floating. And that's what it's like, only 10 times clearer, 10 times more horrible. Could anyone alive survive it?
We live in secret cities and travel unmapped roads. We speak words between us that we recognize, but which cannot be looked up. They are our words. They come from very far inside our mouths. You and I, we are the secret citizens of the cities inside us. And inside us, there go all the cars that we have driven and seen, all the people we know and have known, all the places which are, but which used to be as well. This is where they went. They did not disappear. We each take a piece, through the eye and through the ear. It's loud inside us, in here. And when we speak, in the outside world, we have to hope that some of that sound does not come out. That an arm does not reach out in place of the tongue.
every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed? We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Hog butcher for the world, tool maker, stacker of wheat, player with railroads and the nation's freight handler. They tell me you are wicked, and I believe them. For I have seen your painted women under the gas lamps luring the farm boys. And they tell me you are crooked, and I answer, yes, it is true. I have seen the gunman kill and go free to kill again. And they tell me you are brutal, and my reply is, on the faces of women and children, I have seen the marks of wanton hunger. And having answered so, I turn once more to those who sneer at this my city, and I give them back that sneer and say to them, come and show me another city with lifted heads singing, so proud to be alive and coarse and strong and cunning, flinging magnetic curses amid the toil of piling job on job. Here is a tall, proud slugger set vivid against the little soft cities, fierce as a dog with tongue lapping for action, cunning as a savage pitted against the wilderness. Bareheaded, shoveling, wrecking, planning, building, breaking, rebuilding. Under the smoke, dust all over his mouth, laughing with white teeth. Under the terrible burden of destiny, laughing even as a young man laughs, laughing even as an ignorant fighter who has never lost a battle laughs. Laughing. Bragging and laughing that under his wrist is the pulse, and under his ribs the heart of the city. Laughing. Proud. Laughing. The laugh of youth, half naked, sweaty, proud to be hog butcher, tool maker, player with railroads, and freight handler to the nation.
A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with the fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. A free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a cage bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare's scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with the fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom.
The time I've lost in wooing, in watching and pursuing, the light that lies in a woman's eyes has been my heart's undoing. Though wisdom oft has taught me, I scorn the lore she brought me. My only books were woman's looks and follies all they've taught me. Her smile, when beauty granted, I hung with gaze enchanted, like him the sprite who maids by night off Meeton Glen that's haunted. Like him too, beauty won me, but while her eyes were on me, if once their ray was turned away, ho, winds could not outrun me. And are those follies going, and is my proud heart growing? Too cold or wise for brilliant eyes again to set it glowing. No vain, alas, the endeavor, from bonds so sweet to sever. Poor wisdom's chance, against a glance, is now as weak as ever.
I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look, before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon, and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites, over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes.
We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts. We smile, and mouthed with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all of our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile. But, oh, great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing. But, oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream. Otherwise, we wear the mask.
If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. Time drives the flocks from field to fold, when rivers rage and rocks grow cold, and Philomel becometh dumb, the rest complains of cares to come. The flowers do fade, and wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy's spring, but sorrow's fall. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies, soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in folly ripe, in reason rotten. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, the coral clasps and amber studs, all these in me no means can move to come with thee and be thy love. But could youth last and love still breed, had joys no date, nor age no need, then these delights my mind might move to live with thee and be thy love.
I grieve and dare not show my discontent. I love and yet am forced to seem to hate. I do, yet dare not say I ever meant. I seem stark mute, but inwardly do prate. I am and not. I freeze and yet am burned, since from myself, another self I turned. My care is like my shadow in the sun, follows me flying, flies when I pursue it, stands and lies by me, doth what I have done. His too familiar care doth make me rue it. No means I find to rid him from my breast, till by the end of things it be suppressed. Some gentler passion slide into my mind, for I am soft and made of melting snow. Or be more cruel, love, and so be kind. Let me or float or sink, be high or low. or let me live with some more sweet content, or die and so forget what love e'er meant.
My friends, as it has been proven in the laboratory, an empty pair of dance shoes will sit on the floor like a wart until it is given the reason to move. Those of us who study inertia, those of us covered with wild hair and sleep, can state this without fear. The energy in a pair of shoes at rest is about the same as that of a clown, knocked flat by a sandbag. This you can tell your friends with certainty. A clown flat on his back is a lot like an empty pair of dancing shoes. An empty pair of dancing shoes is also a lot like a leaf pressed in a book. And now you know a simple truth. A leaf pressed in a book, say, The Colossus by Sylvia Plath, is no different from an empty pair of dance shoes. Even if those shoes are in the middle of the Stardust Ballroom with all the lights on and hot music shakes the windows up and down the block, this is the secret of inertia. The shoes run on their own sense of the world. They are in sympathy with the rock the kid skips over the lake after it settles to the mud, not with the ripples, but with the rock. A practical and personal application of inertia can be found in the question, whose turn is it to take out the garbage? An empty pair of dance shoes is a lot like the answer to this question, as well as book-length poems set in the Midwest. To sum up, an empty pair of dance shoes is a lot like the sand the 98-pound weakling brushes from his cheek as a bully tows away his girlfriend. Later, when he spies a coupon at the back of the comic book, he is about to act on a different set of scientific principles. He is ready to dance.